Welcome to Amber Light, where we keep the amber light bulb on our front porch burning bright and shining into the darkness as a beacon of hope for those who are oppressed by corruption and power all over the United States of America. Welcome. Thank you for watching. Really? ICE raids allowed in churches and in schools and in hospitals? Let's talk about it. So you can find anything on Google these days. I just did a search for ICE, schools, churches, and a number of things have popped up here. Uh, there are lots of articles from many numerous news outlets: ABC, PBS, NPR, CBS, NBC, CNN, the Associated Press, on and on. I'm just going to grab here this NBC article. Get that opened up so you can see it here. The headline. This, by the way, was published prior to the election, so this is forward looking at this time, at the time it was published. Trump plans to scrap policy restricting ICE arrests at churches, schools, and hospitals. As we scroll down, this was published on December the 11th, 2024 by Julia Ainsley and, I'm going to mispronounce this, Didi, perhaps, Martinez, with NBC News. The incoming Trump administration intends to rescind a long-standing policy that has prevented immigration and customs enforcement agents from arresting undocumented people at or near so-called sensitive locations, including houses of worship, schools, and hospitals, or events such as funerals, weddings, and public demonstrations, without approval from supervisors, according to three sources familiar with the plan. Won't read the whole article, but we'll skip down to where it references this policy that has previously existed. The policy prevents agents from making arrests in sensitive locations without approval. This started back in 2011 with a memo sent by then ICE Director John Morton and continued through the first Trump and Biden administrations. I've got a copy of that policy. Let's take a look at that. Here it is, policy number 10029.2, published October 24th, 2011, by John Morton, director then of ICE. The purpose, this memorandum sets forth immigration and customs enforcement policy regarding certain enforcement actions by ICE officers and agents at or focused on sensitive locations. This policy is designed to ensure that these enforcement actions do not occur at nor are focused on sensitive locations such as schools and churches, unless A, exigent circumstances exist, B, other law enforcement actions have led officers to a sensitive location as described in the exceptions to the general rule section of this policy, or C, prior approval is obtained. So there's some definitions here about what the policy covers. They're talking about arresting, interviewing, searching, or surveilling illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants at these sensitive locations. Really, most importantly in the policy, I think here, just to share with you, is right here on page 2, what is defined as a sensitive location. Schools, and there's a lot of language there, all the way up to college and vocational and trade schools. Hospitals, churches, synagogues, mosques, places of worship, the site of a funeral or a wedding or other public religious ceremony, and even covers public demonstrations such as marches, rallies, or parades. So there is some language here. This is not an exclusive list, and ICE officers and agents shall consult with their supervisors if the location of a planned enforcement operation could reasonably be viewed as being at or near a sensitive location. There's a general rule here given that any planned action at these sensitive locations must have prior approval. This is kind of, I guess, now how it used to be. There's some mitigating factors here, things that would drive some logic, reason, and humanity to the rule of law. Exceptions to the general rule: the enforcement action involves a national security or terrorism matter, or there is an imminent risk of death, violence, or physical harm to any person or property. Ongoing here, the next page. The enforcement action involves the immediate arrest or pursuit of a dangerous felon, terrorist, suspect, or any other individual that present an imminent danger to public safety, or there is an imminent risk of destruction of evidence material to an ongoing criminal case. So pretty much, there's a lot more. There's more in this document, but uh, again, that's the gist of it. Wanted to share that with you. So this document, created back in 2011, used to provide some level of protection that seems now potentially to have maybe been lifted. So I grabbed a more recent article here. This one was just published here just a few days ago. Now here in the new era of the new president and administration. This headline this is from the Associated Press. Trump won't ban immigration arrests at school. Some families are now weighing school attendance. As we get into the article, this one was written by Olga Rodriguez and some others. It was published on January 22nd. From San Francisco Associated Press. As President Donald Trump cracks down on immigrants in the U.S. illegally, some families are wondering if it is safe to send their children to school. In many districts, educators have sought to reassure immigrant parents that schools are safe places. There's a quote here. "Oh, dear God, I can't imagine why they would do that," said Carmen, an immigrant from Mexico, after hearing that the Trump administration had rescinded the policy against arrests in sensitive locations. She took her two grandchildren, ages 6 and 4, to their school Wednesday in the San Francisco Bay Area after school officials assured her it is safe. "What has helped calm my nerves," she says, "is knowing that the school stands with us and promised to inform us if it's not safe at school," said Carmen. She spoke on the condition that only her first name be used out of fear that she could be targeted by immigration officials. The article continues. Immigrants across the country have been anxious about Trump's pledge to deport millions of people. While fears of raids did not come to pass on the administration's first days, rapid changes on immigration policy have left many confused and uncertain about their future. Several schools have said that they were fielding calls from worried parents about rumors that immigration agents wouldn't try to enter their schools, but it was too early to tell whether large numbers of families are keeping their children home. I think this is where it gets important. Missing school can deprive students of more than learning. For students from low income families, including many immigrants, schools are a primary way to access food, mental health services, and other support. I'm not going to share any more articles. There's plenty out there. If you want to go research this, you don't have to look very hard. It's all over the place. So I just want to maybe add some commentary here to this and just lay out some of my thoughts, my opinions. Who am I? Well, I'm not anybody. I'm just a guy that cares, I guess. Uh, you know, so let's be frank and be honest. I certainly do agree that immigration policies have been abused. In my opinion, we've had no control of the border, and a consequence of that has been many undocumented people that have come across into our country are indeed of the criminal element. I'm really concerned about human trafficking, the drug crisis epidemic, perhaps that you could say. We've got terrorists potentially also that have come in. So I'm not saying that I'm not advocating that we need to have open borders here. Um, the policies of the previous administration have been very weak in that regard, and but here's the thing, I guess that I'm hoping for. I can support ICE activities that are pursuing the criminal elements that have come into our country and that are causing a lot of havoc for people. I think most of us can agree with that. There are many cases, many very well known situations where illegal immigrants have murdered and created havoc in our communities. So we need to address that for sure. But let's face it, over the past few years, we've had a relatively open border, many people trying to come to the United States to better their lives, to maybe have an improved quality of life, perhaps to flee some oppression or some criminal elements, seeking a way to raise their families, you know, their own path to the American dream. And many of us, citizens of the United States, would have to say that immigration is in our own heritage. I know that in my case, my family, my ancestors came from Germany many years ago. So I get it. I really do have some concerns here that under an open border policy where people were under the impression that they could come into the United States and maybe pursue life, now we have policies in place and actions in place that threaten them. And most concerning, in the schools, the churches, the hospitals, these places that are sacred, and really concerned about that. I also would like to say, maybe real quickly, that perhaps all of this is it indicates a real problem in our immigration processes, immigration and naturalization. I don't really know a lot in that space. I'd have to educate myself, but it appears that it must be very difficult to become a citizen of this community, of this nation. Maybe it's not as easy, or maybe it's costly. I don't know. But it seems like we've got opportunity to make improvements there for the benefit of people. So, interestingly enough, what do you think? Would be interested to read your comments below. It seems to me that we've got a policy here that is inducing some fear. My hope is that they'll focus on the criminal elements, and that then we will come around and gather those that are truly good human beings, just seeking a better life for themselves and their families. Maybe we can figure out ways to support them in that process of naturalization. Hey, that's all I've got for everybody today. Thanks for giving me some time, and keep that amber light burning on your porch, calling out for justice for those that are oppressed from corruption and powerful regimes. Thank you.